The crowned one.
What's up, guys? How's it going? Glad to have you back here at the Crown One. And I just want to go ahead and get straight into this article. But if you're enjoying the content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell for the latest updates and the latest uploads. I do appreciate you guys' support. I'm also streaming on Kick with Helldivers 2. Probably will get back into Call of Duty Warzone maybe in the future, but for now I am streaming on Kick with the Helldivers 2, and I'll also be getting back to streaming on YouTube as well. So I'll be doing a little simulcasting there, and just want to thank you guys again for your support, checking out my channel. I hope you enjoyed the new logo that I just put up for my channel. I went ahead and got my logo intro professionally done. So starting to make some strides with the company itself, and I do appreciate you guys again just for seeing what we do out here. We just enjoy doing video games and comic books and stuff like that. But I don't want to keep it too long, so let's go ahead and jump straight into this report. So what we've been seeing is Sony is starting to acquisition former Deviation Games. It's a gaming studio called Deviation Games, and Sony is starting to acquisition a lot of the former developers from Deviation Games. Now, back in March, there was a report about Deviation Games. I believe they were collaborating with Sony, or they might have been part of Sony, the actual Deviation game dev company or department, if you will. That has been rolled. The department itself has been rolled back, and it looks like Sony is just taking the developers themselves. So we may see some projects coming out of Sony proper with some games coming out. Games coming in the future. Now, jumping into this article. Now, there's rumor. Now, this hasn't been confirmed, but there is rumor that Sony has an internal studio with these former Deviation Game employees, but we won't know until the future, until later on. But we know for a fact that there is one developer, as a veteran developer by the name of Jason Blundell. He's actually going to be leading the charge for the future development projects with Sony. Now, if you're not familiar with his work, which is something I'm learning even as I was studying this report, is that he's headed up some huge AAA games like Call of Duty Zombies, to name one. So you already know that he comes from a very strong pedigree when it comes to developing games. So hopefully we can see some exciting things coming out of his department. Now, moving forward, and further into this article, you may not see, because I just pulled some of the talking points from the article itself. Now, there's also a retention of talent. So even though that you see Sony getting rid of this development department, they're actually retaining some of the talent from other developers, not just Jason Blundell, but also some other developers as well, which is good. You want to have, at least, if you can't keep them all, keep at least the most talented ones that are able to push out some of the product for the consumer or the gamer base. Now, I want to highlight a point also with Sony making this move. I'm not sure what their intentions are other than just developing games. They, of course, they got their stuff going on in the back end. But I'm curious in this, I'm just taking two different things and I'm just mashing them together here. When it came to last week's issues of requiring an account link to access a Helldivers 2 game from Steam. Hopefully this, I'm not making that link there. Other than the fact that if this is something that Sony is trying to get working on their end, that they're able to glean from the lessons learned from what the issue was with Helldivers 2 and requiring the Steam players to have a PSN account in order to access the game that we've already played for. So hopefully there's a lesson learned, because it looks like Sony is just closing down that studio, the Deviation Games, and just keeping the talent itself. They had a game in the pipeline, but I guess it never came to fruition. So now they're just taking in the people and closing down the studio itself. Now, so moving further into this article, let's scroll down here real quick. Give me one quick sec. Got to find my mouse here. Now, they announced this partnership during 2021 Summer Games Fest, which turned a lot of eyes towards the nascent studio. I wonder what that word means. I don't know what that means. Many wonder what kind of original AAA project it was developing beyond co-founder Dave Anthony's promise of expanding PlayStation's portfolio in a very significant way, end quote, as well as a partnership guaranteeing continued financial stability for years to come. Sadly, the game's development was tumultuous, with co-founder Jason Blundell exiting the studio in 2022, and then major layoffs affecting 90-odd employees. Wow, that's a lot of employees. In 2023, a year later, the studio shut down before they could even release a debut game. So, wow. I can only imagine the amount of money lost. I don't see anywhere in the article where it talks about any money loss, but I'm pretty sure it's a hefty investment, especially having some 90-odd I won't say developers, but just employees within that department to begin with. So they just jettisoned an entire studio and kept only quite possibly a handful of developers, or just even, whatever their roles were in that department. So, and I also want to talk about an actual bigger issue, because I've been seeing in the news that a lot of the gaming industry as a whole seems to be suffering when it comes to AAA games. So I'm wondering what angle or what niche PlayStation's going to have with keeping some of the developers and I would say grafting them into PlayStation or into Sony proper. I'm wondering how they're going to be able to approach that, because people are seemingly becoming disinterested in AAA games and going into smaller A games, if that makes any sense. Again, I divert back to Helldivers 2. As a lot of us may know or may not know, Helldivers 2 is in fact not a AAA game. However, their success was virtually overnight. Now, again, I say Helldivers 2 because Helldivers 1 is a thing that came out in 2005 as a top-down overhead game that kind of it looks like a real-time strategy game, but it's a top-down overhead game. And now, with the release of Helldivers 2 back in February as a third-person over-the-shoulder shooter, which is really fun. If you haven't played Helldivers 2, look, forget what you heard. Just try it out. Just try it out for yourself. If you haven't been playing, if you're not, don't seem like you might be interested, that's okay. At least watch some of the gameplay on YouTube. I do some gameplay on YouTube as well and on Kick, so a little bit of shameless advertisement there on my own channel, by the way. But I would give it a shot just to see, because you see a lot of the non-AAA games, or I'll say some of the AAA games that have seemed to hit a bit of popularity, like Power World. Now, I'm not sure what exactly Power World is supposed to be. I think it's a play on Pokemon, and I do apologize if I'm offending any Pokemon fans. That's not my goal. I'm just speaking on what I know, and it's not much when it comes to that subject matter for Power World. But the popularity is indisputable, especially on Steam. I do not believe it's on console. I've only seen it on Steam. So, yeah. But at any rate, the popularity, it just can't be denied. People like the game for whatever the game is. It looks like Pikachu got some sort of facial modifications as far as a character on Power World. Well, I guess Pikachu, because it's really not Pikachu from the company that makes Pokemon. But again, that just goes to how, I would say, how simplistic gamers can be. All the fanfare and the pomp and circumstance that comes with AAA gaming, for whatever reasons the developers or even the publishers themselves might have. It doesn't seem like it's, and I don't want to make a speculation here. I will say, in my experience, I'll say like this, in my experience, it doesn't seem like it's favoring a lot of the gamers with the respect of respecting the genre of that game. So you can take A recent example is Kill the Justice League. I won't say it's a bad game. I definitely won't say it's a good game. But you see the reaction. Let's look, we can talk about the nuances of the game and how people didn't think it was all that great. But look at the reaction of the fan base, especially those who are way into Batman, just Batman, and also the late Kevin Conroy, God rest his soul. They really didn't like how Batman was killed off. Now, if you guys know, Batman, that type of Batman was from Batman Arkham City, Arkham Knight, Arkham Asylum. That game, in my opinion, changed the genre, and it was just on an upswing. And now you see these AAA games now starting to take, I don't want to say a downswing, maybe like a nosedive. And I'm basing that off of player reaction, not just my own personal opinion, but really the opinions of others and the response that it's been getting. But more objectively speaking, the losses of millions of dollars because of these games really flatlining on release. So I speak to that with Sony getting ready to develop some more games specifically to their console. So there's also an objective limitation because those who don't have a PlayStation 5 obviously are not going to be playing PlayStation 5 games. And if it's nothing like Helldivers, where it's a PlayStation exclusive, yet it's released on Steam, then there may be an opportunity miss to expand the customer base for that particular game. So we'll see what happens. Again, I hope for the success of Sony PlayStation. I hope they do well. I don't wish any ill will towards them. Xbox, definitely not Nintendo. Nintendo is family friendly, and I like Nintendo, especially the Nintendo Switch. I'm actually looking at it right now as I'm talking about it. But it's gamers are simple. That's probably the best way to capitalize. Gamers are simple. They like a challenge. They like camaraderie. Some like to knock each other off while playing Call of Duty or something like that, which is okay if that's the type of game they enjoy. But gamers are, at least in my opinion, gamers are simple. I'm simple. I just want to have a good game, play for a few hours, eat some pizza, and drink some Diet Mountain Dew because sugar. But I hope that good can come of it, and then they hopefully somehow restore some of the fallout. I will say the perceived fallout of the triple game releases that have been based on, again, client response, have been a flop. Maybe that's a strong term. I'm not trying to criticize, but you got to call a duck sometimes. They didn't meet the quota when it came to releasing those games. So I'm not going to talk a dead horse out of existence. It's already dead. No sense of beating it anymore. You guys stay safe out there, and I hope that you are enjoying the content. Again, if you are, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit that notification bell for the latest updates and the latest uploads for the latest content. And I'll talk to y'all later.